Hey, I'm here with Wendy, an insurance agent, and I invited her on one of the regular one-on-ones that I do for my YouTube channel. I find this is a great opportunity to have like real life chats with real life agents and answer their burning questions about whatever they want to talk about, insurance, sales, and marketing. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Wendy. Wendy, say hello and ask your questions. How can I help you?
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on today, Dave. So I'm Wendy. I'm a life insurance agent. It's been 1 year. I started out with one of those IMO companies that I've heard you talk about, and it was horrible.
Kool-Aid.
Kool-Aid, that's it, that Kool-Aid word. Yeah, and that didn't last very long. I'm with a company now that I do like, so I'm an independent agent, so I keep my own book of business. After watching your calls, I've gotten in so much. I'm struggling right now with I become friends with these people and I'll create a rapport, become friends. And I have a hard time getting right to that closing where it's really, I don't want to say mean, but where you have to be more direct.
Sure.
And
Right.
that's
Yes.
my biggest difficulty at this time.
What are you doing right now? Do you feel that's not, can you give me more specificity? Like, what are you saying? What are you doing that maybe where you feel like it's not working as well as it should?
I feel like maybe I'm becoming too close of friends with them and we're talking, and I always thought like nicer was better, but I've been hearing a lot of different feedback from people and it's like asking for that sale. Like I don't know when to really ask for it.
Right.
I kind of go around it. I talk straight up. We go through what their real needs are. And I do feel that I quote a little bit too low. I want to learn how to, quote a little bit higher. I just don't get strong enough somehow.
Here's some advice for you. I'll kind of start with. First of all, I think some mindset advice would be helpful. I find that a lot of the problems people have that are writing business and taking action, it's not that they don't know what to do. It's just that maybe they don't feel right about doing it. I don't know if that's your circumstances or not, but I think some kind of perspective on what you're doing is helpful. Look at it this way. If you look at yourself as a friend of your prospects at this point, you're not an unwelcome pest or a welcome guest. What do friends really appreciate? Do they appreciate somebody who won't tell them what they need to hear? Or will they appreciate you when you shoot them straight and tell them exactly what they need to hear? They know they really need to hear deep down without any filter.
Oh, absolutely. Deep down without any filter. Tell me what I really need. That's what I would appreciate.
Think about the world at large, like marketing or advertising. They always tell you what you want. If you take this pill, you'll have the perfect body. You don't even have to raise an arm or break a sweat or get your heart rate over 80. Like people want the easy button through life, but everybody knows the reality is that rarely ever works. It appeals to our desire for ease of results, but truthfully, we know deep down that it's never really the case. And I liken that to selling life insurance, and you sell life insurance, correct?
Correct. Final expense.
Everybody knows they need final expense, but they want to wait until the last moment to get it. It's like they say about lawyers. Everybody hates lawyers till you need one. Everybody hates insurance too until you need it. So you're in this dichotomy with the life insurance product, final expense in this case, especially with the prospects that we have. We're dealing with a group of people who historically have been world-class procrastinators, right? How many people in their 60s, 70s, even 80s you've talked to don't own any life insurance? Probably a lot of them, right?
Correct.
So they already have a predisposition from a character standpoint of putting off the responsibilities in their life and getting away with it, but they can't do that anymore. And so what you have to do as an agent is almost the equivalent of what an evangelist that goes door to door to do. You have to sell them on something they know they need to hear, but they don't want to hear. And more than just have them listen to it, but tell them why they got to take action today and why doing so is in the best interest of what they really want, which truly is what? Peace of mind, protecting people they love, and so forth. A couple of things, again, stop me anytime you got questions here. This is really like very important thing. When I talk to prospects, my take on this when we're thinking about how to characterize this is I'm coming to them like a good friend. I'm pleading with them to see reality as it is, that they don't get any younger, that their health doesn't get any better.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no promise for tomorrow. Some good tactics to remind them of as you talk in this way is like, did you ever expect the COVID stuff to happen? Not a single person expected that January 1st or every February 1st to have the impact that it had in our society. And it's likely that our prospects also have friends and family that died who were not just sick, but also healthy. And there's plenty of examples, if we're honest with ourselves, where people who thought they were fine weren't, all of a sudden without expectation. And this is all reason why they should take action and get the peace of mind they deserve.
Now, with that being said, with the pandemic and everybody having less money coming in right now, recession, all that stuff, I know you talk about, asking like a higher amount, like would you be able to afford a $200 or $150 premium?
Right.
Do you still keep it at that high?
Again, it comes back to mindset so many times.
It does. And that's where I'm really, all my questions, I believe, are mindset. This is where I lose it. If they say one thing, I'm always like, oh, I'm sorry.
So let's kind of think through this. If we watch the news all the time, what are we going to be watching? The world is falling apart. There's brewing war in Ukraine, in China, in Russia, nuclear war. I see that headline every other day, right? Inflation, housing markets falling apart, all of this stuff that's just calamities and bad stuff. But if we expose ourselves constantly to this content, we start to think that the whole entire world thinks the same way. Kind of like the foregone conclusion. And again, the problem with that is if you take that kind of mentality, and I don't know if you are, but some of our viewers probably are, paint that picture everywhere, then you'll already be predisposed to thinking that people won't spend money or they are having hard times, et cetera. Granted, yes, people are having hard times. They always are. But my point is, don't let exterior influences over influence you. Right? They're trying to do the same thing we're trying to do. They're trying to get you to click and watch and consume what it is that they're saying, whether it's true or not, but it has an impact on us psychologically. So I think of a couple of things that are helpful too. Look at the inner workings or the day-to-day workings of what our clients buy. They buy all sorts of useless crap that has no bearing on their, the necessity of living. They buy cable TV. They buy packs of smokes. They buy booze. They waste their money. I don't care if they're making $1,000 a month. I assure you, they waste their money on a bunch of junk all the time. And they make that decision. Lottery tickets, the poor person's tax, as they say. And that's our final expense prospects. They buy lottery tickets. What a waste of money. And that activity hasn't gone away. Maybe it's changed for some, but it's still happening. And so my point here is that people buy according to what they want. Ultimately, it's an irrational thing what they're doing. When they say things like, oh, times are tough, I can't buy, I just don't believe that. Times can be way, way, way worse than they are now. That's just a pushback. And if you actually examine what their day-to-day spend is, you'll find in many cases with our prospects, there's stuff that they could do without if they really want what we have, right?
Yeah, but will you
afford it?
Do you ask them? I mean, do you get in there and really talk about that? Like, do you say, if you didn't smoke so much, or maybe leave out that extra cup of coffee, or
right.
I know people that smoke aren't going to give that up, but do you really ask them, like, how much are you spending? Is there something that you could leave out to be able to take care of this?
Excellent question. I mean, for me, I never lectured my clients. Like, they can do what they want with their money and their lives ultimately. I just know when somebody is ready to face reality about life insurance and being insured, they will figure out a way to put something in their budget that they can afford. Our clients don't budget. They just spend money. I mean, a lot of people, they'll just pull their money out in our market, leave $50 behind if that's what it covers approximately for the drafts that come out, and they'll live cash and carry. Not all, but some. Mm-hmm. But my point is, I don't do the budget thing because they really don't keep a budget either. They just are going to feel like they really need this and therefore will make a way to make it work, or they just won't have the feeling because they don't feel like they have the urgency. So my advice to you, don't change a thing. Examine how you're saying it. Maybe the scripting needs work, but I'll still all day long here, when I'm sitting across the table from my prospect, I'll say, hey, if I can qualify for a program today, can you afford $150, $200 a month? I mean, if they clutch their chest, start collapsing, I'll say, well, before you fall back, don't worry. I can actually have something a little less expensive. Let's look at this. If I can qualify for another program, how about 100 to 125 a month, right? And we'll just work down the same exact way. Again, because I'm not arguing with them. Think about it. You're just asking for a price. You're not demanding it. Mm-hmm. If you're using my script and it sounds like you are. And as soon as they say no, the response is no problem. The good news is there's other problems out there because you want to make sure this is affordable for you. And then you just take the next step down. You retain the rapport and trust you developed, but you're still exposing yourself to maximal upside potential with the plan without pressuring them. That's why I love the script. Don't change anything.
Okay.
I think you should just keep doing the same thing, because at the end of the day, everybody's economy is personal. It's individual, no matter what the news says, no matter what everybody else says. And you really don't know what somebody can afford till you go through the script and they tell you yes or no based off of kind of working down with the budget.
Right. My next question is, when I'm going through your script too, sometimes I want to jump if I have that person, that's, do I have to go through all of this? And it's like, yeah, you do, because I need to find out some really good information about you so I can get you the best product, your best bang for the buck.
Yep.
So don't miss a part. Just keep going.
Don't cut corners, as the old farmers used to say, right? There is a process. And I have certainly been tempted sometimes, because I feel like in my presentations that, this guy just gets it. They want it. Let's just cut to the chase. But many a times looking back, what ends up happening is you miss like a really important piece of criteria that they needed to know that maybe would have prevented some ladder resistance. What I would advise you to do is just go through the script. It's not going to hurt to go through the script. If they're really interested in what you're selling them, they're not going to hang up like, I want to buy so bad from this person that wants to be thorough that I'm not going to buy from them. Like, if you run into a person like that dumb, you don't need their business anyway, because they're going to lapse it, like that's crazy. And that just doesn't happen anyway. Everybody wants to deal with a professional. And that's the other thing you're kind of doing. They may signal that they want to move ahead, but they don't know what they don't know. And by taking the time to go through all these steps, it signals to them that they may not have realized that you do know what you're talking about, that you are an expert. And what does that do? It lifts the authority, trust, and rapport that much more. So yeah, just go through it in the same procedure every single time.
Okay, this is really good. I just love the few things that you said, just opened up my mind so much. So thank you. Yesterday I had some really good sales. It's that closing. Like, when do you grab them? I know I've heard we start closing from the very beginning.
Sure.
Without being forceful, without being.
Take me through your close. Go through your close. Like, what do you say?
So after I get them their 3 quotes, and which one of these, you're catching me off guard here, so give me a second.
That's okay. You are on camera after all. No worries.
Okay. Yeah, no worries. Right. And which one of these amounts is going to best fit your budget? I mean, that's the most important thing, here, is to make sure that we find something that you're not going to have to cancel, because you want to make sure you have that. You told me the most important thing was making sure your family had this money for, at the time of your burial. So which one fits your budget? And that's when I usually get, let me talk to my daughter. Let me.
Okay.
Talk with my husband. And some of those I understand, but a few of them, I would say, well, wouldn't it be better to have a policy in place? We can get you your policy. Sure. We don't take out the premium, or the insurance company won't pull out the premium till next month, when your Social Security check comes in. Although I'd like to get more immediate payment, and I think I'm just still not strong enough to talk about that. Like, let's get this done today. Like, the need didn't start. It doesn't start next month. Your need started a long time ago. And I want to get this taken care of now for you.
Real quick, interject. Need to take now. Are you saying that you want them to pay today?
If they could.
Okay. So
an immediate benefit or immediate coverage?
Here's my experience personally. I never, ever take money up front, period. In the story. Okay. Even if they say they want to, I discourage them. Here's a couple of reasons why. I did a review of an agent who she's going to do an interview with me, or we'll publish it. Her name's Melissa. She wrote $8,000 last week in premium. And she had a client who literally gave her 20 objections at the close, just back and forth. Just let me think about it. Let me think about it. It just went on and on and on. She never hung up. So she was interested. And when Melissa said, hey, we don't have to take the premium today, we'll start it in the next month. She's like, oh, okay. Well, yeah, let's get started. That's the whole thing that she was stuck on, is like not getting the money today. Our clients are all on a very fixed income. And I find that they tend to pay their bills in the beginning of the month, and then they run on fumes the remainder of the month, right? They're lower on income, very careful about what they spend their money on. It is even though I want them, like you, to be covered immediately from the first day with a premium. That's how you put a contract in force, is with the collection of the premium. The reality is, a lot of our clients are going to resist that, because they just don't have the money, or they're worried about not having the money when it could be there in the beginning of the month, right? When they can plan a little better. So my advice is just to say, hey, here's how it works. We don't collect the money up front. It's going to come out later. What we're going to do is get you started today with this coverage that you need. Who do you want your beneficiary to be? That's step one. Don't take their money up front. if they say, I really want to pay today, the problem with our clientele is they're just bad with money. There's no other way to say it. If you draft them today, the real draft may not come out till the Monday or Tuesday next week. And then if the recurring draft is on the 3rd of the month, like most of our clients, they're going to look at their statement and say, why is she taking my money twice in 3 weeks? And they're going to start thinking you're a scam and you're selling over the phone. And that doesn't help at all. Then they'll call you back and say, forget about it. I don't want this insurance. It's a scam. And it's like, well, Mrs. Jones, I told you that's, you're kind of paying in advance and then it's going to be on the 3rd every month. A lot of your clients won't understand that.
I've had feedback like that before from clients that called and they canceled. Now they want me. And I said, rest assured, we don't take it out till next month,
right?
On the 3rd, not before, not after, on the 3rd. And they're like, okay, great. Right. I was able to close them like that.
Yeah, it's crazy. You want as least resistance to the sale as possible. Make it as easy as possible for people to buy. And in our market, despite you and me both wanting our clients covered immediately, the truth is that there's financial concerns that are a little bit more prevalent up front than there are with a lot of other like middle market clientele. So it's a buy now, pay later business. Mm-hmm. I always draft it when they get their check the next month. And I always say, hey, you're fully covered 100% from the first payment, because that's technically the truth. It's correct. They're approved today. Assuming they're approved, but they're not covered technically until the premium withdrawals. But Dave, they're not going to have coverage. Well, that's just the reality you have to deal with. Try it the other way if you dare, and you'll find it's very frustrating. A lot of people it's just the nature of our clientele. A couple of points on your close, if you don't mind.
Please.
A couple of things that I think really help. I call them recommendations. There's 2 spots in the script where we want to make recommendations to our clients at the close. So what I like to do is introduce in the beginning of the close, here's the company you're going to qualify for today. The company is called Prosperity Life Insurance. I'm just using them as an example. They're out of Newark, New Jersey, been in business since 1916. And here's why I'm recommending them to you. Based on your health, your age, you're a female, all of these factors make Prosperity Life one of the best options that's available to you to get the best bang for your buck. That recommendation may change based off of health or lack of health or whatever the variables are. Like I like to use COPD. Like if somebody comes to me and we can get them first day full coverage COPD with say Aetna or Liberty Bankers or Foresters, I'm going to tell them that, hey, look, I'm recommending Foresters today because there are so few companies, few of them, that will even give you any coverage. They usually make you wait 2 full years, but Foresters will 100% cover you from the first payment date for the full entire coverage. I want them to know that, because what happens at the close is people get scared. Remember the whole world-class procrastinators thing I said earlier? They know they're about ready to buy, right? They're getting that kind of doubt in their mind. Should I put it off for the 10th time? You need to give them logical reasons why they should buy, because they're emotionally interested, but they're also getting that fear of commitment. So giving them, hey, this is why you need to buy, that builds confidence they're making a good decision. People need confidence in you as an agent, which they have at this point, and certainly in the product before they make that decision. The next thing, Wendy, I like to do at the close, when you show them the 3 options,
yes,
make a recommendation which of those 2 they should consider buying. Here's why. Again, I want a custom tailored presentation and a custom tailored product to the client. I have now arrived as the welcomed guest. I am the professional advisor. That's what you are at the close. Our prospects are looking for guidance on which product to purchase. Let's say we show a 10, 15, 20,000. Mrs. Jones is 60. She wants to be buried. What I would say is, so here's the prices, 10, 15, 20. Here's my recommendation. I think, Mrs. Jones, you should go with the 15,000 or the 20,000. Here's why. You're in great shape. You're 60 years old. The odds are you're going to live a long time. But you know what's going on right now? Have you been to the grocery store lately? See how expensive things are? Yeah. The funeral business is exactly the same. And what's going to happen is that a burial costs 10,000, just like you said, but 20 years from now, it ain't going to be 10,000. It's going to be more like 20,000. Funeral prices double every 20 years or so. So this is why you need to lock in a low price, low as it's ever going to be, for a 15 or a 20,000, not just for today's prices to die, right, to be buried, but for tomorrow's too. So which one of these 3 do you want to start with? Then you go back to your close. But what that does is it helps them say, yeah, that makes sense. This program makes sense. Everything makes sense. It gives them that extra boost of confidence because they're kind of like right on the pinnacle, the pin tip, which way they're going to go. So those extra little recommendations, man, they feel good. Like this, they feel smart. This makes sense. And it just that extra little push that gets them over the finish line.
That was awesome. That was right where I was missing. I so appreciate that.
Perfect.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. One other trouble, like I've worked in the hospital for 20 years. So I really am like a caretaker and take care of people. So I make really like friends on my calls,
Sure.
and I love it. I get some really nice reviews, but sometimes the calls are just going on too long and I'm being too friendly.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like time is money, and
Sure.
I still want to be that nice. Any advice on that? Do I just kind of keep running, grabbing part of my script and I'm just work harder on trying not to get so far off track?
Sure. So a couple of thoughts here. One, rapport is a diminishing return investment. At some point, another 5 minutes of talking about anything other than the product isn't going to make the sale. But with that said, it's not wrong to build rapport. Part of the reason you're successful is because you create relationships. The average telemarketer doesn't, right? So there's kind of like fine line we're looking at here. It's like, we know we need it, but to what extent do we need it, right? At what point is it not going to help anymore? So that's kind of the general theory I operate under with rapport building. Now, my question to you is, where do you feel the conversation runs longest unnecessarily? Is it in the beginning of the call, midstream, the end of the call?
It's usually like midstream when I'm really talking about medical health questions, because I know a lot about it. It opens up little windows here and there. And I feel like I talk to them more about their health and really understanding what
Sure.
diagnoses they have and, like how long. So I can get into that pretty good. So my underwriting is really good. And then my daughter had this or my sister had that. And then I'm like, okay, and then I feel obligated to listen. I'm like, okay, well, let's, I appreciate you sharing that with me, but I want to get back and let's see what we can do to help you. And
How long does an average call of yours last? How long does it take to get to the close?
To get to my close, after I do my underwriting, my general calls are about an hour and a half.
Is that with the interview and all that?
Oh yeah.
Okay, it's not that bad. I mean,
Okay.
I think you should be able to get to the close in 20 to 30 minutes. And then the next 20 to 30 minutes are going to be, an interview. So, I mean, you're probably on the higher end of that. So one thing I would ask you to think about, and by the way, this is the exact reason you need to record yourself. I talk about this a lot in my videos. Recording yourself is going to give you that third person perspective to listen to see not just what the client's saying that maybe you missed, but also what you're saying or not saying that may be contributing to this. What I found a lot of times with agents who are in positions where they're like, okay, this is going on way too long. We're off the beaten path here. We're not selling. We're being friends too much, right? You might be asking questions to facilitate conversations and otherwise to encourage the longer length of the conversation.
Yes.
Yeah. So for example, I was listening to a call of an agent of mine. He was complaining about the same thing. And what he would do, because he's a nice guy, nice person, the client would start talking about something randomly and he'd say, oh yeah, really? How do you mean? Well, they blah, 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 blah. Oh, wow. So what about this? Blah, 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 blah. How about that? Blah, 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 blah. Like, so the agent was asking follow-up questions about point of the conversation that really didn't contribute directly to the goal of the sale. So think about that. That happens a lot. Like and it's not a bad thing. Like there are worse problems because you're closed 4 deals yesterday. Mm-hmm. So, I'm hesitant to say, change too much. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. It's kind of my mentality. But if you listen to yourself sell, are you asking unnecessary follow-up questions? Because you might be kind of digging the hole in which you find yourself in to an extent.
Right. Now, I feel like I've just come to this, you say closed 4 deals yesterday. I've only closed 3 and 2 before. So okay. This was the first time I ever closed 4. I feel like I've grown enough where I'm at this new level, like to step into that next, where can I grab and grind now? Like, like I said, let's get tougher on the closing. Let's, like fine tune. I don't know. When you talk, I just absorb everything you say and I understand and I get it. And it's just, it's that good. I've been watching you for a while and I pick up all that, your mannerisms and all that. So just getting to talk to you in person is just great. This is really cool. So again, thank you.
I think the big thing I would take away from just the mentality of the close, you're an advocate for your client, just like you're a patient advocate, you're a client advocate. Mm-hmm. You are taking the role of what's best for them. And to the extent that you can, without forcing them to do something against their will, you're advocating for what is best for them and their family And what happens after they're dead and gone and can't do anything about it anymore? And
Mhm.
sometimes that means you have to disturb the client. There's an agent, Tim Winders, that I picked this up from many years ago. You have to build internal tension in the client to get them to buy, like the feeling of what happens if they don't have coverage. But you cannot apply external pressure. That's what we think about when we say pressure, because
Mhm.
the truth is the next day, night, or week, if you push somebody to buy, what are they going to do? Call and cancel. It's a unique
Mhm.
problem we have in this business, whereas other businesses don't have it. They can push a car and then after a couple of days, it's free and clear. So we have to, again, speak to that internal kind of like conscience that they have, that you can't wait. There's no promise for tomorrow. You got to be ready. You got to have it all set up. If you don't, you don't want to hurt your kids unnecessarily. Right. And to speak to that reality. And it's going to be disturbing. It's not going to feel good, but it's what they need to hear. And that's how you build internal pressure or internal tension to get them to buy.